Hello and welcome to Northwest Focus. I'm your host today, Nancy Cole, and I have with me in studio one of my best friends, Dr. Troy. Welcome.
Thank you, Nancy. It's good to see you.
Good to be with you again. Now, we've got a program that's going to have two components, and they're both fascinating, but the first one we're going to focus on is what is going on with our youth today? What's happening with young people?
Well, you know, I've been in practice for over 15 years, and when I started practicing, you know, the health issues and challenges I see that kids came in back then are totally different now, and it's just amazing to me, just the shift in the last 15 years on kids' health and all the sicknesses and diseases that show up. And I think there's a common theme and a common thread.
What's happened, doctor? What's happened?
Well, one of the things is you know, we're in this busy world, this busy lifestyle. We've got I call it the hurry up illness or the hurry up disease. So you know, you can see that just driving out on the road. You know, people are they're getting in different lanes to get to the front of the traffic light. You know, they're behind, they're running mad, and that's passed on down to children. And then when you're in an environment where you're always on the go, you know, that requires demands nutritionally for your body.
Yes.
And so now what I'm seeing is kids and parents are actually not putting the right fuel in their body. I think a lot of these issues come from that big standpoint.
Now, you're calling it fuel.
Fuel.
But that translates to food.
Correct, yes.
Because food is fuel.
Yes,
okay, all
yes.
right, go ahead.
And so, you know, one of the, I was recently doing some research on nutrition, and this researcher talked about if you're not eating 51%, and I thought that number was kind of fascinating. He said 51% of each meal needs to be alive, fresh, and can I call it God food?
Okay, all right.
Food
now let's give me an example though of alive and fresh.
Well, like last night, my wife and I, we had broccoli. It was alive. It was fresh.
It wasn't out of a can. It wasn't cooked. It wasn't microwaved.
Correct.
Okay.
Lightly steamed, and then we had fresh bell peppers. We had tomatoes. So I mean, I was talking to her after watching this, doing this research. It was like 90% of our plate was fresh, alive food. Then we had chicken. So we didn't have the starches, and we didn't have the rice and the potatoes. We had fresh, alive food.
Okay, I'm envisioning a lunch of macaroni and cheese here. So help me understand then what's happening to our youth if I come in and I nuke some macaroni and cheese for my lunch.
Well, first of all, there's no enzymes in there. There's nothing that's going to help, you know, keep your cells alive and give them energy. And in fact, this researcher said that if you're not eating 51% alive food, your immune system actually starts attacking the things that are absorbed into your bloodstream. So
now say that again.
So
if I don't eat 51% that's live food with enzymes, my immune system starts attacking
the nutrients or whatever's in that macaroni and cheese. So you actually create an immune system reaction. And so now you're seeing a lot, I mean, there's a lot more incidences of depression in children, of obesity, heart disease. I read recently in Time magazine, they said that they found 15% of children 4 and 5 years of age are now starting to develop plaquing in their arteries. And now it's closer to 35% by the age of 20 have plaquing in their arteries.
And doctor, in your opinion, this is because of our food that we're eating?
Absolutely. It's the nutrition that we're putting in our body, and then the amount of stress that we're putting in our body. And then there's also chemicals that kids are exposed to. And a lot of it comes from the nutrients that we're not eating. Like you know, you look in the pantry, it's all boxed. There's nothing that's alive. You know, so I was thinking today before I came on the show is you know, if you shopped in the outside aisles at the grocery store, you want to stay away from the inside aisles. But shopping in the outside aisles, you know, you got the produce, everything's fresh and alive. You got fresh meats. So, but shopping inside, you've got everything's prepackaged. There's preservative, canned. And so the more we can eat in alignment with nature, you know, how God designed us to, we're going to express health, because that's our natural state, is to express health.
Now, you talked about the rushing that children, you know, experience and so forth. What are you seeing in your practice as some of the things that children are coming down with, or syndromes or whatever, because of the youth lifestyle of today?
Well, one of the big ones is obesity. I mean, I see a lot of kids that are, you know, packing on, you know, 10, 20, 30 extra pounds.
Clarify obesity for me, because I think our viewers, you know, kind of have an idea of a wonderful cherubic child. But what is the definition of obesity?
Well, if you just look, you know, it's somebody who's overweight, but anywhere from 10 to 15 pounds overweight would be considered obese, in my opinion.
10 to 15?
Uh-huh.
I can pack that on in one holiday season, Dr. Troy.
Very, very easy. We came out with a newsletter recently that said how to save 20% of your lifespan during the holidays, or increase it.
Yes.
And one of them was avoiding the sugary foods, all these things you see during the holidays: the cookies, the fudges, the jelly beans, the eggnogs. So there's a lot to be said about what we're putting in our body, and especially with children, they learn it from their parents. So
that's true.
That's where it really starts. Going back to some of the other health issues, I'll see breathing issues in children. You starting to see issues like arthritis type symptoms, and then
in children.
In children, like knee problems, foot, shoulder problems. You see a lot of neck problems. Now I'm seeing even young kids diabetic issues. It's the fastest growing disease right now in America. And I've seen studies anywhere from 20 to 30% of children are susceptible to type 2 diabetes, which is created by the environment you put your body in.
And diet.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was going to try to focus you on the stress part of it, but obviously the fuel part is what's really causing the damage to our children today.
Yeah, and the stress part is part of it too. I always encourage parents to have a strategy for their kids to reduce stress, and one of them is getting them out and getting them moving, some sort of exercise activity, instead of putting them in front of the TV, instead of putting them in front of the Game Boy or the Game Girl for girls playing it. Get them out doing things, kickball, volleyball, jump rope. Winter, when that's here, get them into some sort of skiing or something that they're doing outside that gets their heart rate up, gets them moving. There's a lot of activities.
What about all the athletic events? I'm thinking of my own grandsons and all the things that they're involved in. Is that good, or do you still recommend something that's maybe more family-oriented and involved?
Well, I think it's good for kids to be in sports, especially team sports. They learn to work together as a team and a group, and it builds that camaraderie. But again, if I have parents who are like, oh, we've got soccer games every weekend, so their whole life revolves around a sporting event. That I can see being very stressful unless you've got help. And that's why even being on a team, you could co-op with moms. Like, I'm taking the kids to practice today.
Okay.
If you're in a group with 3 or 4 different moms or dads. So it's not just all on you. You're in a social group that can help. So getting connected, even in churches, with activities that way. But getting kids up and getting them moving. That's one of the #1 things. Because, our bodies were designed to move.
Yes.
They weren't designed to sit. So.
Now, before we came on air, you were talking to me about even children that are being diagnosed with depression and treated for depression.
Yeah. This is a huge market right now. I just read a thing that said the #1 source of antidepressants, the market they're going after, is preschoolers.
No, wait a minute. The market that the antidepressant manufacturers are going after is a preschooler.
Yeah, that's the #1. That's the fastest growing market right now.
Dr. Troy.
Yeah, and that's not my stats. That's just what I'm seeing out there.
Yeah, the research that you're doing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And it's interesting because the Food and Drug Administration warns that children using antidepressants, there's a higher link to suicide. And I was telling you, I was doing this nutrition research, and I get people call me all the time. I just had this oncology nurse call me, and she's doing things through nutrition. She has a radio show. She called me. She's like, I want you to be on the show. She's like, somebody who finally understands it, how to create health. And so we were talking about this, and there's research out there, and we were talking a little before the show about this lady who was very depressed. She was seeing a psychologist, and they had her on medication, which, she's clinically depressed, very severe case.
Yes.
She was sitting in the corner, just, very quiet. She was just rocking. And they hooked up with this nutritionist. He started putting her on niacin, the mega doses of niacin, which is, it's a B vitamin, at 12,000 milligrams a day. And some people are like, wow, that's a lot. And
with therapeutic dose.
Therapeutic dose. And within a week, she was talking, she was interacting with people, she came out of the fog. She goes back to the doctor, and the doctor's like, that niacin could really hurt you. You should stop taking it. So she stopped taking it, went back on, the antidepressant, and then back right into her down, depressed state. So there's so much information out there on alternatives to using, chemicals that potentially could be, life-threatening or very